What if I told you that the smart financial advice most of us have gotten, which is maximize your 401k, might actually be a gamble on something nobody can guarantee, which is future taxes? You see, between 1931 and 1980, the federal income highest margin tax rate never got below 70%. So for somebody that earns over 200k, your highest margin tax rate was in the 70%. That is totally different from what we're experiencing today. We're in the golden age of taxes. Like this is in recent history, this is the lowest tax rate we've experienced, right? A single person earning over 600k, currently the highest margin tax rate is in the 37%. So does it really turn out to be a good advice to defer all your taxes to a future that you cannot predict? On the other hand, if we look at some of the benefit programs we enjoy today, the Social Securities and the Medicaid, those have actually undergone some serious changes. So lately, right, in 2017, just Social Security was about 23% of the national debt, right? About $900 billion, close to $1 trillion, went to servicing Social Security. And it's not difficult to figure out how that's the case, right? When Social Security was first put in place in the 1930s, the ratio of workers to retiree was 41 to 1. So for every single retiree, there are 42 persons that were working to service their benefits. Back in 1960, that number dropped to 5. So for every single retiree, there are only 5 people working to service their benefits. And that number is projected to drop to 2.5 to 1 by 2060. And by the time most of us are going to retire, our generation, it's probably going to be maybe 1 to 1 or even less than that, or probably the program I even described. And these two programs, Social Security and Medicaid, can actually bankrupt the US. And somebody can ask, how is that possible? Well, there's a four-letter word that can actually describe it. And it's not loans, it's not debts, it's not even wars, it's not kids, it's math. The math actually shows that Social Security and Medicaid can bankrupt the US. Because at the same time, where these benefit programs are taking more and more, we are actually asked to pay less and less tax, and we're having fewer and fewer people that are working to service a retiree, right? So you have fewer people, the income to workers, the ratio of workers to retiree ratio is actually going down. We're paying the least amount of taxes historically, and these benefit programs, the budget are ballooning, right? So that actually could lead to bankruptcy. So if you're somebody who is planning for retirement, right, and you're going based on this old advice of maxing out your 401k, you're actually not better served because you're banking on a future that you cannot guarantee, right? Putting your money in a 401k or maxing out your 401k as your only strategy or your predominant strategy, what that actually means is that the government is telling you, oh, let's keep this money for you at some point, right? And then in the future, I will tell you how much you're going to pay me. Okay. So there's a new way to think about this. And that's what I want to cover in this series of videos, right? I will walk you through different investment strategies and different buckets that allows you to maximize your investment so that in retirement, you can actually get your money tax free. You can actually pay zero income tax in retirement. So regardless of what the government does, right? Because based on the current benefit program, taxes are more likely going to go up, right? They're more likely going to be doubled or even tripled to cover these programs. Or these programs might be scrapped entirely, right? Back in 1935, when Social Security was introduced, it was actually not meant to be your retirement plan, right? Back then, the retirement age was 65, but the life expectancy was 62. So you're more likely going to die before you get those benefits. But today I see people live up to 90, they retire at 65 and live up to 90. That's easily 25 years, and they're living off of Social Security. and that cannot continue that way, right? The program cannot support, because it wasn't meant to support people for that long. So, making your own financial planning and preparation for yourself and for your family actually allows you to come up on the better side, regardless of what happens to the program, whether it gets disfunded, or even if the tax rate has to go up to compensate for it. You've been able to plan properly so that you don't end up saving a little bit of tax now and end up paying twice or three times as much in retirement. So in this video series, I'm going to walk you through the different strategies, the different investment buckets, and how you can better position yourself and your family to retire with zero income tax in retirement.